One day 9 years ago, my brother, who had gone fishing, came home with a pale face. When I asked him about it, he replied, "I was scared. Don't go there. There are scary things there." He kept repeating, "Don't go to XXX Gama." I gave him a cup of warm tea and asked him about it with his mother. My brother had gone to the bay where he always fished during this season. They called themselves XX Gama, which means the Gama in Japanese. And this Gama is the land where the fallen members of the Heike clan carved out a salt field for their daily life. There are many such places in this region. Surrounded by evergreen forests, the surface of the water in the bay is as calm as a mirror and looks like a lake. One of these small bays with a Ria-style intricacy was the place where my family used to go. We called it XXX Gama. It was a place where my dead father, my brother, and myself used to go since we were small children. If you knew someone there, you would use 2 rods. If you knew someone before you, you had to give up fishing there. There is a small pile of stones about the size of 2 tatami mats. To get there, you have to go down from the narrow, winding road. You have to go down from the narrow, winding path above to a 30-meter-long animal trail. My father, who was afraid of people knowing the location of this small place, parked the car a little distance from the road and went there frequently. About 10 years ago, even though we were the only ones who went here, he was afraid that we might discover the place. We parked our car far away. When we were young, our father found this place, and even after his death, it remained a secret. However, it was not so much that we could often catch fish in that place. However, the water was flat at a depth of 4 meters at a distance of 20 meters. The bottom was sandy, which suited our fishing style. The closed pearl sorting station across the street is not visible from anywhere except for the occasional fishermen hanging their nets out to dry. Therefore, people do not come to this place, even during GW and bond vacations. Looking at the floating float on the mirror-like surface of the lake, that alone is enough to make me feel healed. Anyway, my brother went out there, and while he was having lunch, he saw a scary thing. When I asked him what the scary thing was, he would not answer. Anyway, he was so horrified that he jumped up the cliff and got in his car and came back home. He got into his car and drove home. I was surprised to hear that. Did he leave the Tamo frames behind? I left it behind, my brother said. I didn't care about the Tamo handle. The Tamo frame was a fur that my father had made, and it was a memento of his passing. "I'll go get it," he told his mother and brother. I heard their voices behind me saying, "Don't do that," but I would not give up the Tamo frame. The sun was setting quickly in the late autumn evening, and it was already dark outside. Already 6 o'clock. I was a little surprised at the darkness, and was about to start my car when I saw a mother and daughter standing in front of my car, looking a little funny. "Excuse me, could you please step aside?" But she just looked back at me and stood there in a blank stare, refusing to move. As I waited in the car, frustrated, I began to calm down a little. It was now 6 a.m. 2 hours by car. We would arrive at the tote at 8 o'clock. In the darkness, I could picture myself walking down the animal trail. I felt a little scared. I thought to myself, let's not do that. No one knows me there. We can go there tomorrow when it gets light, I thought. At that moment, the owner of the house, who was a mother and daughter, took them away, bowing to us. Now I think I was saved by these 2 people. The next day, I had no time to spare. I left the house at 4 o'clock in the dark. I arrived at the toad before 6 a.m. I walked down the animal trail in the morning light. We reached Gama before 6 a.m. We walked down the animal trail in the morning light. It had been many years since I had last been fishing. I was a little worried about the cobia, but in this gentle light those thoughts disappeared. Sure enough, there was a set of fishing gear. But not the taimen. The tamo was also thrown out behind the fishing line. Relieved, I thought I had to retrieve my fishing gear quickly. The sound of crows made me think of something scary. The cooler and the bucket with Gama material were first, then the scallion, the rod, and the tamo, and 2 round trips were made. I tried to hold the cooler. It wouldn't lift. What's in the cooler? I opened the cooler. A terrible smell filled my nose. There was some kind of fish inside. There is a cooler full of minced sardines. The smell of carrion, as if it had been left for days, assaulted my eyes and nose. What the hell are you doing? Anger at my brother was taking over my mind. But then I asked myself, is this what my brother did? Why are the sardines minced? Why is it rotten? But I was less afraid if I had anger toward my brother dominating my mind. Subconsciously, I was thinking that way. What should I do? Give up. I'll give up the cooler. I'll take the reel and the tamen's frame with me for now. I'll take the reel and the tamo frame for now. No, just the tamo frame. I thought to myself. I grabbed the tamo frame and was about to go back when I found a dead body hanging from a Macalus thunbergy tree behind me. A middle-aged man with his back to me. Beige jacket. His feet were on the ground. But there is no doubt that he is dead. Because his neck was stretched horribly. When I went to the fishing spot, I didn't notice it because I was concerned about the tamo frames and it was behind a tree. I was a little relieved when I saw it. My brother's scary thing was this. It was just a dead body hanging from a tree. I was fishing and didn't notice it, but at lunchtime I looked behind me and became confused. Probably something like that. Thinking this, I became a little calm and heavy-hearted as I couldn't take my eyes off the corpse. I was a little calm and felt a little heavy. I have to take today off work. I'm going to call the police and ask them what happened. I don't know when I'll be released. I could just ignore the situation. But leaving the tools. Someone might have seen my car. It's a pain in the ass, but what the hell? I was afraid to turn my back on the corpse, so I grabbed the spade, turned around, and walked up the road. There was a police station. There was a village about a minute's drive away, and there was a police station there. But there was no policeman there. A piece of paper and a ballpoint pen tucked into a binder said, "If you need anything, please write it down here." A phone number to call in case of emergency. It was another hassle. When I left the police station, I saw an old man tending to his garden at a house across the street. "What do you want?" "The policeman is always away," the old man said. The old man said, "I found a dead man. I found a dead man. Hanged. Under the stairs of the pump." When the old man told him where the body was, he said he would check it out and rode his bicycle to the Gama. The old man told him to call the police, so he did. After a while 2 police officers arrived. I told them what had happened and they showed me to the place. But there was no body there. They said, "Oh, it was here. That certainly doesn't look right." Immediately, the 2 policemen looked at me with a questioning look. They must be suspicious. I was sure I saw it, but I was stuck in a terrible situation. I was thinking, I saw it, when the old man appeared. "It was there," he said. But you didn't. We were talking to ourselves. It was right here. Here it is. A dead body hanging, the old man said. Yes, there was a body. According to the old man, there was indeed a dead body. Beige jacket, black pants, feet on the ground. When he was returning to the station by bicycle after checking the body, he passed a police car and returned to the station. He passed a police car, so he came back again. But there was no body. But they all had one thing in common: they were all involved in some kind of trouble. The police had not only one, but two people testified that there was a body. But there was nothing to indicate that. I wanted to end this situation as soon as possible. However, if I were to change my story, it would look suspicious. If I told them that my grandfather had seen it too, it would be hard for them to back down. As a result, the two police officers and a few others, including backup, searched the area. I wondered why I was there, but I didn't want to wait any longer. In the end, the matter was settled as a misunderstanding, and I was released before noon. I was sure that I had seen the old man working surprisingly hard. He is the president of the local government. He was not going to change his story, saying things like, "I'm the head of the local government." I could no longer believe myself that I had seen a dead body. I just felt a chill. Anyway, the police came back and the two of us said to ourselves, "It was there for sure." The old man went back to his house. The old man went home. I felt, oh no, when I got there. I had enough time to put away my fishing gear. But I didn't want to be there. I should have put it away while the policemen were there. I was afraid to go to that place alone. But I should have left them alone. The time is noon. The sun is at its highest. The noon siren goes off. No cooler. I'll bring my rod and reel. The sun is shining beautifully through the trees. There was no wind and the surface of the lake was like a mirror. I stand on the fishing line. I look around in fear. I want to get away from here as soon as possible. I just want my rod. It was only then that I realized that the line had sunk to the surface. There was no float. He stirred up the rod and spun the reel. Then, I saw that I was caught in a root. No, it moved a little when I stirred the rod. It was heavy as if I had caught an octopus, but I was able to pull it in. The float comes out. The thing on the hook appears. It was the head of a man who had been in the fish net and was about to be ripped off. There was no distinction between male and female. Bones were visible in the cut end of the head, which had been roughly cut. A block broken in half was attached to the bottom of the net with a harpoon. The face. When I recognized the face of the crab crawling around as the head, I found myself hunched over. I let go of the rod as if I had touched something hot. The neck was submerged in the water. At that moment, a cry entered my ears. However, I might have heard that sound long before. Maybe I had just thought it was a bird call. I sat up and looked over and saw a woman in a white dress on the pier at the pearl sorting station. She said, She covered her ears with her hands and screamed as loud as she could. I don't know why, but I was sure she was out of this world. She turned her back to me, shook her short hair, and screamed. Why did I run up the cliff? I ran up the cliff with my back turned. About halfway up, I heard a and something jumped into the water. I heard something jump into the water. A woman jumped into the water and came toward me. From that point on, my memory became fuzzy. I was surprised that I did not have an accident. I spent some time at a coffee shop near my home to calm down a bit. When I returned home, I heard that my brother had gone bowling with his friends. I remember how angry I was at my brother for being so carefree. A few years later, my brother contracted an incurable disease and died. He died after spending his father's retirement allowance and his mother's savings on medical treatment. About a month before he died, I asked my brother about that time. "What did you see?" He said, "That thing. His neck." He said, "You caught it in a net, didn't you?" "A head in a net." A sound came from inside the cooler box. Startled, I gently opened the lid and found a head inside. It was a woman's head. She had eaten the bait used for fishing. You won't believe me because you're crazy. But it's true. Perhaps it was the medication, perhaps it was the blood clots, but sometimes he would say strange things. He said to himself with a self-deprecating smile, "You can't believe it, can you?" "No," I said too. "I saw something strange too," I said, and my brother looked at me with a serious expression on his face. That was the first and last time I talked about this with my brother. I stopped fishing. Or rather, I am afraid to go south of my house. The dreams I have at night are always about that time. How many times have I repeated it? But when I told my mother about the time when my brother came home shaken after his funeral, she did not remember it at all. And I was no longer sure that it was true. I decided to go to see that old man with a great courage on my own. But I was afraid to pass by that place, so I took the long way around. There he was. And he remembered me. I knew that what had happened had happened. It kind of made me cry to think that it had happened. "Have you been over there since then?" I asked him. "No, I can't go there. It's a strange place. You shouldn't go there either." His face suddenly clouded over. I had passed through this place many times with my father. I climbed the Mackless Thunbergy tree where the body was found many times. I also climbed the Mackless Thunbergy tree where the body was found many times, and when I was in elementary school, I was allowed to fish for small items with a knob or pole. I feel sad that it has become a horrible place. I have not told anyone about this, but it is difficult to keep it in my mind. That's why I wrote this here. Sorry for the long sentence.